This week's AVR podcast is based on Shorties 72, where we talk about school stories from Japan. Alright, let's get started and let's talk about Japan today.
Alright, let's do it.
Well, I found something quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Read this one thing where this Tokyo-based photographer, his name is Haruhiko Kawaguchi, and what he does is that he takes photos of couples in a vacuum-sealed fashion. So
Vacuum seal fashion.
so you got like two couples. You know how you buy meat in
Right.
you buy meat.
Okay.
It's
So those vacuum packed, tight, shut tight.
exactly. It's like those super shut tight. So picture this: you got your partner, yourself, and then you want to do a wedding photo, and you find this guy, and this guy will tell you that, well, I'm doing this flesh love kind of series. So you hug each other, and it's in a vacuum seal plastic. And what it does is that, well, first of all, he'll lube you in, to avoid friction with the plastic.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
so you'll be
Makes
super
sense.
lubed. And then after that, the vacuum sucks out the air, and basically you'll be sealed in an uncomfortable cocoon of love. So if you want to know how it looks like, you have to Google, because the thing is that when the plastic totally seals you in,
You can't breathe, right?
yeah, you can't breathe. And the thing is that you look like you're a packed meat.
Oh gosh,
man.
I have claustrophobic and I can never do this.
Yeah.
You get this feeling like, it's too shut tight to your skin.
Well, you got 10 seconds though. It's like once you're sealed, you have about 10 seconds. Actually, the photographer has about 10 seconds.
To get the right
Yeah,
photo.
to get the right photo. Then after that, they'll start to like just let the air back in, and then they have to support the people who is being taken with oxygen mask, oxygen
Okay.
tank, and there's
Right.
also a medic to stand by in case things go wrong. But
then-
I mean, what could go wrong, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I assume this is going to be like a very expensive process.
And a very memorable one, you
Yeah,
can never
for sure.
forget. Everyone's just standing by watching you.
I think it is. I think it will be quite an expensive process, because like you have to get a medic over there to
Correct,
stand by.
yeah.
Medic, oxygen tank and everything, just to get the
Probably.
10-second shots.
And those oxygen just don't fall from trees.
Probably you need insurance package or anything. But would you do it?
For me, maybe not. I find it unnecessary. I don't know. It doesn't seem romantic to me.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I mean, have you seen like how people, when their face is like really squeezed into
Right.
a condom, say for
Yeah,
example,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then the face is like totally all stretched out. So if you were to use it for like your wedding photo, it's kind of weird. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you get all great shots, and then suddenly there's this one shot, you and your other half get vacuum in a packet.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
just so
it
weird.
gives the sense of comedy inside your wedding album or something like that.
I would be sitting down there thinking,
But yeah,
why
it's gonna
did they
be-
do that?
Yeah, it's gonna be so out of place.
It's gonna
If
be so
you
out of
decide to
place.
do these kind of things, you have to commit. So the rest
Yeah.
of your photo teams will be something very
Probably the
outstanding.
next shot you pack in a sardine tin or something.
Yeah,
You gotta go
maybe.
by a team rather than just one.
I think
one
if
shot.
I think if the photos were to be played out in a wedding, I think people are just gonna be disgusted more.
Yeah, I would.
It's kind of weird. Maybe it's just art on the other level, but
Art?
cannibalism is the
You know
same
what?
thing.
You could just Photoshop that, right? And just don't do that. Don't do that exact
It's
shot.
quite hard to achieve that in Photoshop. But
Yeah, I think if you want to see a similar way of like this thing being done, you go to the dark web. Yeah,
oh man, that's the real deal.
you go to the dark web.
Right.
I remember that there was once I was writing this shorties about raw feet. It's about like how Anakin and Akira is being stuck on a boat.
Yeah,
Right.
And the fact that they got nothing to eat, so Akira trying to
Just resort
follow
to one way.
trying to follow how a One Piece thing is doing. He takes a rock and then Anakin says like, "Where the fuck you get the rock in the middle of nowhere?"
We're on a lifeboat.
Yeah, so he breaks off his feet, and I got curious because we've drawn how Akira's feet is on top of the sushi rice, vinegar rice.
Right.
So I got curious. I googled what raw feet looks like.
Oh man, why'd you do that?
Man, it's
Did you regret that choice?
absolutely. I mean, the last image I could recall is like a lot of human feet. I think that's cannibalism. I think it's
there,
probably
there are some countries that does that
I think every
allowed
I think
cannibalism.
every country.
There are no specific tribes.
There are no countries that allows cannibalism. What are you talking about, man? Where do you come
No,
from?
there's this tribe that does it, you know.
Where-
I don't know where. This
No,
Thailand,
actually,
somewhere around.
Papua New Guinea allows
Papua New Guinea.
Oh my
yeah,
god.
because there's no
This
laws
is
over there. There's no
sick.
police and all that.
Right,
Oh.
right.
So
That's
yeah,
sick, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess you're right. It's a community, you know.
Yeah.
It's a community
It's a-
where they live in secret and all that.
Yeah.
You know, the side thing, going to dark web. I remember looking at. I didn't go into dark web, but I see pictures of how like not super gruesome pictures, but they pack it the same way. So when I first saw how that person takes photos and the fact that how, okay, let me give you an idea. When the partners or the people in love they do this flash love photography based on this Tokyo-based photographer. They're not smiling. You know, it's hard to smile
Yeah,
because their
when
face
you're
is all
squished.
stretched out. Yeah.
Yeah, because once you set that face, right, when it's vacuum, then that's it. That's set, and your face is like that, right?
I mean, you even if you try to maintain like a very graceful kind of facial expression, the plastic will just stretch you out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty much pretty much you can't do anything.
Are they naked?
Yeah. One of them is
Oh.
naked. Some of them is actually quite interesting because they are I think painted or they wear colorful stuff. So it's shot in a white background. So it's it's Japanese. Our Japanese is like most of the time minimalistic. So
Right.
it's quite amazing. I would say.
I'm gonna
It's just quite
do
creative.
Google that later.
But you Google raw feet too.
no,
no.
no. So what side of the dark side? What a dark side that you actually been to, Mel?
I don't know what's
I don't visit those kind of places because I know what to expect. I don't dare to do those.
Yeah.
But yeah, aside from that, you guys may know my pattern nowadays. I like to find crime in Japan because it's so
Crime.
rare. It's so rare.
Crime again.
Yeah, it's like
it's crime Mel's time.
It's a hidden jewel, you know. So recently, there's this crime spree. I can say it's a crime spree happening in Tokyo, specifically in Saitama. So
It's like the purge, huh?
it's a very classic crime to commit. So there has been like around 20 cases of bag snatchers.
Backs.
Yeah. So usually bag snatchers, they will prey on the elderly. So like mostly old
Yeah.
women and all that.
Yeah,
so
can't run,
yeah,
can't chase you.
These are the locations where you walk in a dark alley and someone will just snatch your bags. So there's been 20 cases currently, and the police are still looking for the culprit, and they can't find him. So him or her, don't know what's the gender, but by
Can't
the
find
description,
it.
it's correct.
Can't find
That's
it.
when you can't identify
Maybe
it.
a dog. But yeah, it's a human being. He's a human. Let's just call him a guy.
Alright,
So
the guy.
this guy, he uses a bicycle, and he speed up, and he just snatch your bag, and he don't care where you land. So you will fly. Once he catch you, you will fly.
You can fly.
You can
Believe
anything. So there has been like 20 cases, which majority it happens in Saitama, but there's been a few cases where it happens outside of Saitama. So this guy knows his shit. He knows that he's gonna be on the news. Let's like lay low and commit crime somewhere else.
So what they know is that it is on a bicycle. That's it.
Yeah, the guy is on a bicycle and he preys on elderly women.
Okay.
And what strikes me on this crime is because it's an ordinary crime,
Yeah.
but there's like
A twist.
there's
Okay.
link to something,
Oh.
which is One Punch Man. You know, this stuff happened in Saitama.
Yeah.
And Saitama happened to be the main character's name in
Right.
One Punch Man.
Okay.
And the criminal is a guy on a bike, which in
Right. The
One
guy
Punch
is on a
Man,
bike.
there's
One
a-
of that
yeah, there's a superhero called Moomin Rider. So I'm waiting, like I hope like the next day in the news there's like Moomin Rider caught the culprit, this is my turf kind of thing. So the coincidence is too much.
I was kind of wondering. I mean, like, was Saitama as in the hero of One Punch Man? I mean, like, is he really created because the artist who stays in Saitama was inspired with the fact that all these crimes are happening in Saitama? Is it?
Maybe I
is
don't
this how
know,
it
but
goes?
most of the crime, of course, happens in the big city, which is around Tokyo. So you see a lot of crimes happening in Shizuoka, Saitama, all these
Yeah, 'cause I
places.
remember the last time you told me that. There are a lot of crimes that are happening in that place, so I'm trying to see like if there's like a linkage.
Yeah,
to,
maybe,
right?
Maybe.
Probably end up as a cop, trying to solve the mystery. But cops in Japan, they usually cycle from one place to another. I mean, that's how they operate. I mean, there is police car, I guess, but it's not
Right.
for the city center. You probably cycle and just do your job.
Right.
Bicycle is the thing.
It's funny to me where like you see ordinary people like cycling very fast, then they see the cops like on a bike and say, "Hey guys, slow down, man, slow down." It's the cops. Oh shit!
You're entering speed limit.
There's speed limits.
Speed limit for your bicycle.
It's going downhill. It's like, hey man, let's not go all the way
Too
down.
fast, man. Like,
Control your speed, man.
guys, this is only gear 2 area, so nothing above gear 2. Stay
Popo
that way.
police is there. But yeah, that's okay. That's interesting. I'm like, have they come to getting close?
No,
to catching
it's
it?
an ongoing investigation. So I don't know if they're getting close or not, but it happened 20 times.
Wow, that's
it's
a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot, man. It happened within a month. 20 cases in a month.
Yeah,
He's hard at work. I mean, we work 20 days a month.
I mean, dude's got to improve his bicycle, man. I mean, there must be something that he needs from
How much
there,
do you
know?
think he earns? I mean, like, if he does it on a daily basis, do you think he earns more than we do?
There's one case, the latest case, where this old lady's bag got snatched and she fell. And they politely written in the article where the woman got snatched and she fell and injured herself. So right, in this context, it's the criminal's fault.
Yeah,
but they
yeah.
didn't even like point that out. They say like this woman's bag got snatched and she fell. Like it's her
It's her
own
fault.
fault.
Ah,
Yeah. So aside from that, in her bag there's around like 50,000 yen.
that's a lot.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of
So
ramen.
that's just one bag. I don't know how many times he robbed people in a day.
So he doesn't rob on Saturday and Sunday?
I don't think so. With that
I mean,
kind of salary, I don't think so.
You can just use the money for that.
Oh, man, hilarious.
Yeah. This thing about in Japan, like, this kind of case, it seems like the biggest deal compared to any other cases you heard, like murderers and stuff like that. This snatch thief itself is already
I don't
something.
know. I don't know if it's like the biggest deal, but
It seems so, right?
The funny thing is, like, in the comments, after I read the article, the comments were saying, like, hey, there's 20 cases. What are the police doing? We're paying your salary. Please do something. It's so...
yeah.
Damn, man. It's
I
like,
think it's always the frustration that's like, my tax money is going out.
yeah.
And the more older you get, like the more you realize it.
Yeah.
And then for anything that you pay, you start to pay tax, and then you'll be like wondering why this crime's happening.
Correct. So I guess that only applies in Japan. Outside country, maybe it's like, what? Someone snatch your bags? Like,
Not too bad for you.
it's not even 40 cases, man. Let's just
wipe it off.
Yeah, 40 or 50 cases, then we do something about it.
Right. I think this is like one of good thing for gaijin to know, like a foreigner in Japan. I mean, if you're gonna walk in the dark alley, you gotta watch for your wallet, your purse, your belonging. You wouldn't want that to happen.
It's kind of rare because like you always think about like Japan as like a very safe place,
Yeah,
but now we're sort of like
yeah.
advocating a different thing. So if it really does happen to you, you are really unlucky.
Yeah.
God must really hate you, man.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, let's talk about shorties.
Yeah,
let's talk about
Shorties.
shorties.
So, this week we're talking about Shorties 72. That's about how not to greet your teacher. So, another one of those things that I would like to say that if you're a gaijin, you gotta see this. I mean, like, that's one of the things that you gotta know.
Here's one thing that fascinated me when I first read about it. It's like the thing is that if you have a teacher on the Western side and you want to maintain a good relationship, you usually go by a casual way. It's not like there's like a teacher and student. It's not like there's a hierarchy or there's a respect. The teachers over the other side will ask you to call them by their name. So even if it's like whether I don't know they are PhD or whatever. You know, sometimes they just call me Dave. You know, it's like everybody in the class can call me Dave, but. On Japan's side, and it's not even the Japan side. It's a lot of parts.
Yeah, I think it's
Asian
Asia.
countries.
Yeah.
And I think what happens is that because you see a lot of uniforms in schools in Asian schools.
Yep.
You see a lot of practices where they sing the national anthem, the school anthem, and all this kind of stuff. The way they have their assembly. I'm starting to think that there's a linkage of why this has happened because there is a lot of occupation done by the Japanese, and they bring those things to the Asian places that they had occupied at the time. So they even built schools at the time.
Yeah.
So hence there was this idea of like,
spreading around all around Asia.
spreading around all Asia, and before start of school, you all gather around and then you all sing song. And this goes the same when you see a teacher, you don't call him by the name, you call him a teacher because if not, you really do get smacked.
Yeah.
I mean,
it does happen.
It's not as casual as like the Western countries where they can call their teachers by their surname and all that.
I think in Japan probably they used to beat their students, but I think now no more. But there are a lot of other parts in Asia that they would definitely do that. The teachers are allowed to put your hands on the students, but I do not know so much in this case of today. But it seems like back then it was so. So never call your teacher by the name, and that's how the Shorties was started.
Yeah. Call me sensei.
Yeah.
Yes, call me.
But we're talking about things that are related to this. We're talking about interesting things on school stories.
Yeah.
Interesting
Of
school
course,
stories in
of
Japan.
course.
This is how they came about.
Yep. So I mean, there are a lot of like rules and regulations in school. Like you probably never knew, because you're never in Japan, like studying there probably perhaps. There's a lot of things. I mean, one of the things that I know is that when you go to when you enter school, you have to change your shoes. There's a shoe rack.
Right.
The moment you enter the school, there's a shoe rack that you actually have to change to school shoe, compared to the shoes that you are walking to school.
By the way, the school shoes is called uwabaki.
Uwabaki.
Uwabaki, yeah. Uwabaki.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
So
Alright.
I like this concept because like you enter an Asian's home, you gotta take off your shoes.
Yeah.
So it's the same concept. Like they practice the same concept where each time you enter a building, as long as you're not outdoors, you have to take off your shoes.
Yeah.
And of course, if the building is so big, you gotta wear something, right? It can't be like just barefoot and just walk around a large building and all that. So they prepare a very, I think, thin material kind of shoe.
It's sort of like those in-house slippers that you take.
Yeah.
Right. But it's a shoe. It's a small shoe.
I mean, it's a different kind of rack. Like if we look at the West, when you go to school, the first thing you see is actually your, where you keep your locker for your books. That's the main thing you see. But in Japan, the moment you get into school, the first thing you see is that cubicle locker to actually change your shoes. That's the first most important thing before getting into class.
I like that concept. Like even like aside from shoes, you do like some PE activities. You gotta change your outfit. Makes sense. But the thing that is funny to me is the uniform. Like by seasons you gotta have different types of uniform, and I find it very, very troublesome. Especially for guys or even girls where they need neckties and all that. Man, I just hate neckties, man.
Yeah, but I think they're catering for different seasons, right? Like, probably winter time, you're still going to school, you gotta wear something different. Something
of course.
that will keep you warm and all.
Are you saying that you're not open to the idea of uniforms? Is that what I'm getting?
Growing up with Asian cultures, we of course wear uniforms and all that. To be honest, I always don't like my uniform.
All right.
I grew up watching a lot of Western movies where they have self-expression, which is lacking in the Asian culture.
Yeah.
Freedom to wear anything you want, that's great.
Yeah, you just wear whatever you want.
Yeah.
Your hair length can be any length you want. You can dye your hair. That kind of self-expression, which is not allowed in an Asian culture, especially when you're a teenager. That's the period where you grow up.
Thinking back, it kind of makes sense a lot because maybe I'm kind of detached away from it. But as a teenager, there is so much
restrictions.
There's so much restrictions that doesn't give you the opportunity to express who you are. But being much older now,
Right.
it seems that it's really convenient to. Yeah,
But actually, yeah,
it's
if
really
you
convenient to
think
go
about
outside and wear.
convenience sake, it
Yeah,
is. It
yeah,
is
yeah.
like, you don't create. You create order. Yeah, you create order
yeah,
basically.
yeah.
Or I'm
It's
just
lost,
I'm
Yeah.
just too lazy to go out for shopping. It's like
Right,
too
just-
expensive to buy stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I mean, just wear the same thing every day. Just
So what are the interesting stuffs
Right.
about school stories in Japan?
Okay, so like school has rules you have
Alright,
to
yeah.
obey. Like
Mhm.
school regulations. Inside school,
Always.
outside of school. Even like when you're outside of school, you have to wear your uniform properly because you're representing that school.
Yeah,
you can't
yeah, you
create
can't-
that bad image.
right,
you know?
right,
But
right.
the thing I think there is like starting to open up as in like if you see a boy in school,
Right.
I was outside of school and he's wearing a uniform, and if it's like sleazy, maybe some girls like it. It's like bad
Ah,
boy
it's like a
image.
style to it, yeah.
Right. I tend to see that.
I tend to see a lot of these types of things in anime. Of course,
Yeah.
not in real life because anime they
I mean,
they
they
represent
show the
coolness.
truth, yeah.
So they have to portray that.
Now that I think about it, the last time I've been to Japan, I've not seen any guy who's been wearing. I don't see any guy wearing a school uniform.
I did.
Oh, you did?
I did. Our first day there inside the train, I
They-
saw a few of them going to school.
But here's the thing, right? From what I knew or found out that they are on break during March. Their school starts on April,
Oh,
so
interesting.
I'm guessing maybe they're on breaks. But regardless on breaks, they actually still goes back to school. Like there's activities to do, and it's just like Japanese. You just never stop what you're doing.
Mm.
Doing one thing, then you're just going all the way to do it.
Like when I saw them inside the train, it's like, not to be racist, but I'm gonna say some racist shit. They all look the same. They all look the same because of their uniform and all that. They are so disciplined.
They have to look
like
one.
to the point where nobody's gonna see you, but you still gotta follow the rules.
But don't you think they all carry the same bag? That particular
Yeah,
handbag?
correct.
It's like everyone's holding the same thing. It's so identical.
So you were saying.
Yeah. So one of the funny kind of funny rules that people set for the high school when you're in the school, right? Apparently, high school is not compulsory in Japan.
Really?
Yep, it's not
What?
compulsory. It's a choice for
What?
you to participate or not. Why? Because they prioritize the student. If you want to go to high school, it depends on what high school you go to, based on what you want to do in the future. So let's say I want to be a mechanic or a farmer.
Then you go
There's
to
a
a vocational.
specialized high
Oh,
school
right.
for those.
Ah, right.
So if you don't have dreams or or anything, you can just drop out, and
Okay.
nothing is wrong.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that. They won't like force you to go to high school.
Wow,
So
interesting.
that's very interesting to me.
So what you're saying is that if a student he is aspired to be a musician,
Right.
so he can drop out of high school. I mean,
He goes to music high school.
interesting.
Yeah, there's specialized high school everywhere.
I mean, that's great, man. You start it young. Start off really young and just get really good at it. So you busk out on the street earlier and probably made your 5 million record sales by 20.
So what happens to people who are like doesn't have dreams? Like what you say, like do they just go with default?
I guess. Wait, what is default then?
As in, like you just end up as like a salary man or salary woman and just die by the time karoshi.
Oh man, I don't know, but
Because if the way I'm thinking is like if you cannot, you don't need to go to high school because it's mandatory. So probably you have a very specific thing that you're trying to pursue, and if it's specific thing that you're trying to pursue, then I mean like. Whether if it's art or programming, these are things that are like, how do I say, more specialized. But if you're not specialized, then you're just trying to be a salary man,
Right.
a generic worker.
I wanna be a waiter. I wanna be a construction worker.
You heard of McDonald's? Yeah, that's where school is. Well, here's another interesting thing I had about school stories. Unless you had something to add.
No, you can go on.
There's a lot of is known to have a lot of horror stories in school stories in school in Japan. There's
horror
always
stories.
there's always this myth. There's always
Urban legend.
There's this urban legend with it. I always wonder why. I mean, like you heard classic Japanese horror stories in school, whereby you go to a science lab and you see the skeleton moving. This only happens at night, you know.
Right.
It's like it doesn't happen in broad daylight because obviously,
Yeah.
you know,
We all know spirits are like
It only appears at night.
super hate sunlight.
yeah, and you know all the great evidence of a horror story is always recorded with a shaky camera, and super bad resolution. So they
And you
gotta
can't identify
Yeah,
it.
you gotta appear in times like that. So. Or you know you walk past by a statues and then the statue's eye seems to be following. You know, this is typical urban
Yep.
legends.
Yep.
So one thing that strikes to me is that this urban legend in Japan is that there's a female. They believe that there's a female spirit that haunts school bathrooms, right?
Okay.
And the legend is that she'll only appear if you say her name in the third cubicle. You know, in the third stall in the bathroom on the third floor. And then boom, she appears. I mean, that's the urban legend.
Only third floor, okay.
So I was wondering. Something came out to me that if someone was to say like her name, the third stall in the bathroom, the third floor, I can only picture someone at the top saying giggity. Giggity, giggity.
But what is her name?
I don't know what's her name.
It's just like something like Sadako. You know,
Yeah, probably.
That's kind
So
of urban
as
legend.
long as you enter during the nighttime, third floor.
I don't think it's nighttime. It's just the third stall in the bathroom and the third floor. I'm just wondering how is she and where is she going to appear? Like, imagine.
Which part of
Yeah.
the toilet?
Yeah, I mean, like if you were to like squatting down and taking. You don't squat down in Japan schools now. I think. Do you think Japan schools are equipped with?
I think it depends.
It depends on
schools.
maybe the outskirts still practice that. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't want to see it under the toilet bowl. that's kind of weird spot.
What happens if you were to be shitting and you say a name?
Why would you do that, man?
I don't know. You get curious. You know, it's like.
You know, that's like going to the toilet and calling Bloody Mary 3 times. Whenever you're not supposed to do that.
You know, there's a lot of people doing stupid shit. I mean, like, imagine
Yeah.
if you're like saying that and then what happens if she appears in front of your face? You know, it's like.
Hey,
I think you can say one thing that maybe she won't bother you anymore because people who tend to say this is a bummer. You know, nobody
Yeah.
want to hang out with them. So
Yeah.
when she appears, right, you just say, "I'm so lonely." And then she will leave, man. God damn, this guy is a bummer, man. It's like, I don't want to hang out with this guy.
I need a friend.
Well, there were rumors why there's so many ghost stories, ghost kind of stuff going on. There were rumors back then that Japan, the government, they want to build more schools, but they needed to build it cheaper than what they were building, so they needed to find land, and so they point to a site and say, let's build schools at an old cemetery.
Oh
you know?
man, classic.
Well, that's a rumor, but I don't know how true it is.
Oh, land's cheaper.
But it's kind of it's kind of sucky, like the idea of like if you were to build schools, on old cemeteries,
Right.
that's probably what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's so eerie,
Yeah.
Even
it is.
even if you have like schools nearby a cemetery, it's already very scary.
I mean, you kind of have to think about it. I mean, back in the days when there were war, I'm sure there's a lot of burial grounds. So technically, a lot of building is actually on top of a burial ground if it's not a official cemetery.
I think pretty much every land in Nagasaki, it's like a cemetery.
I guess.
Well, you say Hiroshima too.
Yeah, or Hiroshima, it's like pretty much you're walking on,
Now that we talked
You're
about
on top of oil. There's so much oil there.
Alright, what do you have there? What do you have for
Yeah, okay, you
interesting
know what?
school story?
if any teachers that comes from a different country to Japan to teach whatever they have to teach, right? They always get this one warning from the school. I mean, it's not really a warning. It's just like, hey, you know what? The kids usually does kancho in school.
Okay.
So kancho is basically putting your finger and just
Up to someone's
shoving out
ass.
someone's ass.
Shoving
And that's a normal prank in Japan. Like that's what all the kids does, and it's really normal.
Yeah, probably the teacher says, "Hey man, I'm into that too."
Someone do me, do me. It's like the kids are, get away, sensei. Oh man, if you get an excited teacher like reacting that way, fucking run, man.
Yeah, that's scary, man. That's really scary to hear from a teacher. So yeah, I mean, teachers are actually warned or actually told that these kind of things is normal in school. Like probably from my perspective, it's like, whoa, I don't want to get that thing shoved up my ass,
Right.
So that's one of the things they do.
I think it's pretty deadly, isn't it? Like to put a force up your ass.
Yeah.
I mean, it
just
depends
like that.
how forceful it is, man. If someone just shove it real hard,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't think I can sit in
Please
class.
stop this ridiculous culture.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's one of the things teachers should know. But in school, there's always you always prepare the student from crime rates, any robbery happening in school. And in fact, actually, in every school in Japan, you actually have this two-prong catcher.
Two-prong
It's
catcher?
What
this
is it?
like
Pokemon ball?
like like a horse U shape thing.
Right.
It's a little bit hard to share here. I think if you type in two-prong man catcher, you can probably get that picture. So what
Okay,
you do,
so
it's like,
it's basically that U-shaped
yeah,
thing
so
with,
it's
with
like
a
with
stick
yeah,
at
with
the
a
end,
stick.
right?
Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay,
every
okay.
school has that. So in case of robbery, you gotta take that and you gotta like stop the robbery.
Why didn't
one
the-
guy from the front, the other guy from the back?
I don't know. This is a very old method during like the samurai period. I don't know why they still do it now, because if I have bad intentions, I want to go inside a school, I'm
Use
gonna
the-
bring a gun. So you catch
gun
me, I'm
laws in
just gonna
Japan.
shoot you.
Wait, that we're talking about the same thing that we see people always use that thing to lift up skirts. Why are you saying that?
I'm not. I think it's not the type that you can pinch. It's more like it's just.
Yeah, it's
That
just a
static
U
shape,
shape
yeah.
with a
it's
stick
just-
at the end.
I don't think this thing works, because if it would have worked, the poor elderly women who fall down.
Oh
but-
yeah.
yeah.
It's just so funny to see like people like running with that stupid device. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And the thing is that if all else fails, if you can't really use that two-prong catcher to catch the guy, well, you only resort to the last one.
Well, here's-
Control him all the way so that he won't get to come back in again.
Here's an interesting thing, because as you were saying that how they try to prep them to fight crime or something like that, but then I read very interesting stuff about school with bullying. It's like bullying in Japan is
Ijime.
it's a totally different kind of scale, because if you think about bullying, you think about one guy who's probably an asshole and he picks on a student, a specific target, and he just does it, and then everybody sees, and probably everybody doesn't feel good.
Right.
But they don't want to interfere because they don't want to get in the way. They don't want to be part of the target. So when the bullying gets over, probably the other students dust the shoulder off the back of as in you got a crew to at least help him out. But in Japan it's totally different, because in Japan bullying is not from a guy. Bullying is a group phenomenon.
So meaning it's more psychological than physical.
Yeah, the psychological always comes first, and then probably the violence comes. You've
Right.
probably seen a lot of stuff in anime. It's like there's a couple of people, they surround this one guy, and then there's probably other people who laughs at it together. It's part of that association, that
right.
attachment. And the thing is that it's like they'll probably call you names and stuff like that, and then they'll get to a point you can see the anger starts to boil, and then start pushing him down the walls.
Right.
It's like putting him down to the floor, which is a very typical scene that you'll see like in animes. And I think kind of true, is because it kind of makes sense.
It gives me this impression like, it's peer pressure. If one's doing, everyone's laughing, join the group,
Right.
just laugh
You
along
don't
with
want
it.
to be the target, right? So,
Yeah. The thing is that it's not only that you don't want to be the target, because how does one become the victim? It's like one person who is like, you transfer from a school to another, then suddenly you become the new kid on the block, and suddenly everyone's looking at you. And the really shitty part is that the teacher will probably join along together
What?
with it. Yeah,
That's messed up, man.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, to be
Okay.
fair, the teacher kind of have like a catch-22 situation, because
Right.
if he were to say don't mess with that guy and don't mess with the student in front of everybody, then technically the teacher is acknowledging that that guy
Is
Oh.
getting bullied.
is getting
Yeah,
bullied.
right.
And it further adds up to the scale of how things will be, because now officially he's the guy that everyone needs to know. But at the same time, he can't really say that because if he were to say that, the student who is being bullied will feel angry.
Oh, wow. So much of a double-edged sword here, man.
It's a
Like,
very double-edged sword.
That's a messed up thing to do, man.
It's very messed up. It's very messed up.
Just imagine like they start shoving the kid. You know, the teacher is present, so they start shoving the kids, and like the teacher is like, "Hey, hold on, guys! Like, don't shove him, you know."
yeah.
I'll be a lookout. Okay, yeah, do it.
We're good to go, you know?
You know, I mean, we find it funny, but I wouldn't surprise that that's actually what's happening.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, it could be, because the thing is that the teacher plays an important role in this whole thing. It helps to promote the bullying, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you see, this is the linkages. You cultivate this kind of thing, right? So that's why the old lady who fell from getting robbed,
Right.
you know, and the news is not saying that the robbery was the cause of it that pushes down.
actually,
You know, because you can't victimize the robbery because he might have his agenda, you know, just like how this is, you know.
So in a sense, the criminal is the victim. Like,
Oh my god!
Damn.
I've been seeing it wrongly.
Oh, look at this connection. Wow, this is just amazing.
right.
It's like, well, you know, one of the teacher even told a student in one of the articles I read is that, first of all, you can't stand out in a group, in a pack. You can't stand out. You just have to be part of the group. You just have to serve within the society. And if you want to stand out, you got to rise up through the ranks by yourself within the group. But, you know, it's like if you are being bullied, well, the teachers will tell you either you adapt or you quit.
Whoa.
Right, ooh.
Wow.
And some people will quit.
Ultimatum.
That's a very tough situation there.
There's an interesting story where I read how they prevent bullying for like students, foreign exchange students. So there's this one family who moved from America to Japan, and they of course they're Caucasian and have really blonde hair. So the kid, it's a girl. She attend the school for a few years already. And she's very fluent in Japanese, and she adapts to the culture. But when she goes to school, she has to dye her hair black.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, because
You don't want to spot the main character.
yeah, correct. Yeah, you don't
One
want to
of our
spot the
Shorties.
Super Saiyan. So she has to do that because they don't want to create like jealousy among the other students.
Ah, right, right.
You have to
Oh,
really
that's-
blend in.
Yeah,
You have to really blend in.
Yeah, that's pretty
you gotta
tough.
be one of them.
Yeah, true. Here's one thing I found out. Here's one thing I read as well. You know, it's like, as much as this bullying thing that's like really happening, and sometimes you hear people, students, you know, they kill themselves because they can't stand the torture,
right.
you know, the psychological torture or the physical torture, violence. And, you know, teachers, here's the thing that is really messed up, because we were talking about teachers. Teachers, you know, they don't often have the training. They're really good at maths. They're really good in the subject that they're trying to teach.
Why specifically math, man?
Well,
nah,
you know,
go on.
if you research about the school, you'll find out. You know, but you know, they're good at that, but they don't often have the training to prevent bullying. And there was a survey that did to survey around the students about the subject of bullying, and it found that 70% of teachers would like to do more to prevent bullying.
But they don't know
How?
No,
Right.
it's not that. But they don't have the time.
Oh,
So it's sort of like I really like to help the kid, but I
I
gotta
gotta go.
I gotta go, man. It's like
Priorities, man.
it's not like it's gonna die anyways.
oh, shit.
You wouldn't want that to happen.
And here's why the teacher is the way I see it. It's like it's part of the a very important problem, deadly problem with this whole thing, because the teachers are promoted based on the harmony that is in the class.
Right. Hey,
So
that makes sense.
yeah. So if there's bullying, you wouldn't report it.
Correct.
Yeah. So
Because you don't want that bullying harmony to break.
exactly. You want the cycle to continue. That's
There's
the
one
harmony.
guy who
Wow.
has to take it for the team.
Yeah.
Well, that's a huge mess, man. I mean, like, look at all the layers you go through. You know,
Absolutely. And they're
Like, if you're the victim, I don't know. If I'm the victim, I just don't know what to do, man. I think I'm gonna resort to the choice you said earlier, Mel. I'm just gonna quit school and Go learn some new skills, just
Yeah.
make my fortune out.
Here's the good news for you. Like if you want to quit school and you want to relocate and you move someplace else before you get bullied and everything repeats again. Well, guess what? Your moving costs might be bare. Or it might be bare. Your moving costs,
Might be minimal.
yeah, your moving costs might be supported by the school.
Wow.
Because there is a case.
Wow.
All right. So this student who's getting bullied, right? He got a private detective, and it puts in and it inserts a small little camera inside his pencil case to film the actions or whatever he gone through with bullying. And when the parents saw that. They got the footage. They confronted the school, and the principal asked, "Hey, you know what? Yeah, there is. It is bullying. Would you like to move?"
We're prepared.
Yeah,
Which package would you
yeah,
like to
it's like-
apply for?
It's like we can help.
This one comes with the condominium.
Yeah. So they are willing to do until that extent to preserve the school reputation. So that's
Right.
really messed up. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it is.
Wow. And it's all the cover ups, just to make it, it's always about making the front looks good,
Yeah.
like things like, wow, the schools are great, they have a lot of activities club after school, and
Yeah.
all.
Oh, that is compulsory, by the way. It's a rule in the school where every time you finish school, you have to join a club activity.
Right,
You have
right.
to. It's compulsory. So that's an interesting note.
Yeah, but what's interesting, if you don't have any club, right, you're literally joining this club called Kitakubu, which is called the Go Home Club.
Oh shit!
So you still belong to a club, but you technically don't have to revolve in school's club. So
So
go back home,
The activity is go home and do your homework.
Yeah.
so do you have to like assemble and wait for everyone to be in here and say today what we do is that we go home?
Yeah, it's like roll call.
Maybe,
Saitama going home. Okay.
Hi, me? Yes.
Yosuke going home. Okay.
Wait.
What if it's on?
Wait,
Going home?
Ryusuke is not in our club? Where is he?
He's playing soccer. Get him.